The studio lights blazed down on the iconic Late Show with David Letterman stage, the audience buzzing with anticipation as Donald Trump strode out in his trademark suit and confident swagger. But what began as a standard late-night banter quickly unraveled into a clash so heated it left both the host and his guest visibly rattled. From the very start, Letterman's sharp wit and pointed questions cut deeper than usual, poking at Trump's business dealings, political aspirations, and controversial remarks, and while the crowd laughed nervously at the jabs, Trump's smile began to harden, his replies growing sharper, louder, and edged with irritation. As the exchange escalated, Letterman leaned in with his signature smirk, refusing to let go, while Trump fired back with interruptions, boasts, and accusations, turning what should have been a playful late-night segment into a verbal standoff that crackled with tension, leaving the live audience caught between laughter and disbelief as the situation spiraled toward an outcome no one could have predicted. Letterman, known for his ability to needle even the most composed guests, pressed harder, challenging Trump on inconsistencies in his public statements and mocking his tendency to dodge tough questions. And though the audience initially chuckled at the host's biting humor, it quickly became clear that this wasn't just another comedy bit. It was a test of egos playing out live on stage. Trump, visibly bristling, leaned forward in his chair and began to raise his voice, insisting that he was being treated unfairly, that Letterman was twisting facts to get cheap laughs, and that he wouldn't sit quietly while being ridiculed. The tension in the room grew thick, laughter giving way to nervous murmurs as Trump's booming retorts clashed with Letterman's cool, sarcastic jabs. The two men locked in a duel of words that seemed to escalate with every exchange. For a moment, the polished set of late-night television resembled a debate stage more than a comedy show, and the audience found themselves witnessing not entertainment, but a raw, unscripted confrontation that neither man seemed willing to back down from. By the third heated back and forth, Trump's patience had worn razor thin, his usual smirk replaced with a scowl as he jabbed a finger toward Letterman, accusing him of being part of the media circus that lives off tearing successful people down, his voice carrying over the uneasy laughter of the audience. Letterman, unfazed and leaning back in his chair with that trademark deadpan expression, responded with a sarcastic quip that only stoked the fire further, earning a mixture of gasps and awkward chuckles from the crowd. Trump, clearly boiling, interrupted again, speaking over the host, declaring that he wouldn't sit here and be mocked by someone who doesn't understand real success. His words sharp, cutting, and dripping with indignation. The live audience shifted in their seats, unsure whether to laugh, applaud, or hold their breath as the atmosphere turned increasingly volatile, and behind the cameras, producers exchanged nervous glances, realizing that what was unfolding wasn't just late-night banter gone wrong. It was a full-blown standoff between two larger-than-life personalities, with egos too big to share the same stage. Letterman, sensing the segment slipping into chaos yet unwilling to let Trump have the last word, leaned forward with a sly grin and delivered a cutting remark about Trump's business record, the kind of joke that would normally send the audience into hysterics, but instead, it triggered a loud, defiant response from Trump, who shot back with claims of his financial success and mocked Letterman for hiding behind jokes instead of facing real men head-on. The tension in the studio was electric, laughter replaced by gasps as the two continued to spar, their voices clashing in a way that no late-night producer could have ever scripted, and the usually light-hearted atmosphere of the show transformed into a battleground of pride and insults. Finally, after one particularly sharp exchange, Trump pushed back his chair, straightened his tie, and declared that he didn't need to sit here and take this nonsense, rising to his feet as the audience erupted into a mixture of shocked cheers, nervous clapping, and stunned silence. Letterman, never one to miss a beat, smirked and threw in one last sarcastic jab as Trump stormed toward the exit, leaving the host, the crew, and the live audience in disbelief at what they had just witnessed. A moment of late-night television history where the facade of polite banter shattered into raw, unfiltered confrontation. As Trump made his way off the stage, the cameras struggled to keep up, capturing only glimpses of his retreat while the audience buzzed with disbelief, half of them on their feet in shock, the other half cheering as if they'd just witnessed an unscripted brawl. Letterman, never losing his composure, leaned back in his chair with that familiar mischievous grin, letting the awkward silence hang in the air before dropping a perfectly timed one-liner that sent the studio erupting into nervous laughter. his mastery of the moment making clear that he was still in control. Meanwhile, backstage chaos ensued as producers scrambled to figure out whether to cut the segment entirely or let it air as is, fully aware that the confrontation was destined to go viral. For Letterman, it was another notch in his belt of unpredictable, headline-grabbing moments, but for Trump, storming off had created a spectacle that blurred the line between entertainment and scandal, ensuring the clash would dominate news cycles for days. What should have been a routine guest appearance had exploded into late-night legend, leaving viewers everywhere debating whether they had just seen the cracks in Trump's carefully constructed image, or the raw authenticity of a man unwilling to play by anyone else's rules. Even as the dust began to settle, the ripple effects of Trump's stormy departure from The Late Show with David Letterman only seemed to grow larger by the hour, dominating watercooler conversations, social media feeds, and news broadcasts around the country. Every outlet replayed the fiery exchange in slow motion, dissecting each line, each expression, each barb traded between the two men, as if it were a heavyweight boxing match rather than a late-night segment. And the debate quickly spilled far beyond the walls of the Ed Sullivan Theater. Political commentators, comedians, and everyday viewers weighed in, some insisting Trump had revealed his thin skin by walking out, while others argued that Letterman had gone too far with his relentless jabs. Hashtags trended, clips circulated at lightning speed, and both camps of supporters doubled down, creating a cultural frenzy that blurred the line between politics and entertainment even more. Behind the scenes, CBS executives reportedly argued about whether the clash had harmed the show's reputation or injected it with new vitality, while Trump's team privately spun the walkout as proof of his authenticity and refusal to play along with media games. In truth, both men had gained something from the explosion. Letterman reaffirmed his status as the king of unpredictable, unscripted late-night television, while Trump, always skilled at turning controversy into oxygen, found himself once again at the center of the national conversation, his brand of brash defiance etched deeper into the public consciousness. And so, what began as a routine interview transformed into one of the most unforgettable moments in talk show history, a collision of wit, ego, and stubborn pride that no script could have manufactured. As the frenzy continued, the showdown between Trump and Letterman began to take on a life of its own, evolving from a single late-night meltdown into a cultural flashpoint that highlighted America's growing obsession with confrontation and spectacle. And the more people rewatched the clip, the more interpretations emerged. Some focused on Letterman's cool, calculated delivery, praising his refusal to let Trump steer the conversation, while others zeroed in on Trump's fiery retorts, admiring his refusal to be made the butt of what he felt were cheap jokes. Talk shows across the networks ran segments debating who had won the encounter. Comedians incorporated the walkout into their monologues, and media analysts declared it a turning point for how late-night television interacted with powerful, polarizing figures. For Letterman, the moment solidified his reputation as someone who could cut through the bravado of any guest, wielding humor like a blade to expose what lay beneath, while for Trump, it became yet another example of his uncanny ability to dominate headlines, using even his most volatile moments to reinforce his larger-than-life persona. The clash was more than just entertainment. It was a mirror reflecting the tensions of a society that thrived on spectacle, ego, and the thrill of watching two titans collide. And long after the lights of the studio dimmed, the memory of Trump's stormy exit and Letterman's sly grin lingered in the public imagination, a reminder that sometimes the most unforgettable moments on television aren't scripted. They're born in the heat of raw, unfiltered conflict.